Captain Robert "Salty" Morrison was securing the lines on his 30-foot fishing charter boat when the 200-foot mega yacht, Fortune's Folly, came roaring through the marina at 30 knots, creating a wake that lifted his modest vessel 8 feet in the air before slamming it down against the concrete dock with a sickening crunch of fiberglass and snapping wood. The 67-year-old Navy veteran watched 40 years of savings and dreams disappear in 30 seconds as his boat, the Semper Fi, which he bought with his retirement money and used to run fishing charters for disabled veterans, broke apart like a child's toy while billionaire tech mogul Vincent Ashworth celebrated his birthday party with champagne and laughter, completely oblivious to the destruction his reckless yacht had just caused. What Ashworth didn't know was that Salty Morrison had spent 30 years commanding nuclear submarines, and more importantly, that tomorrow was the annual Pensacola Naval Reunion, bringing together 200 Navy veterans who still considered their former captain family. The Fortune's Folly continued toward the harbor entrance without slowing down, leaving behind a debris field of broken wood, scattered fishing gear, and the dreams of a man who'd spent his retirement years helping other veterans find peace on the water. Salty stood on the floating dock, watching his life's work sink into 8 feet of marina water while other boat owners emerged from their vessels to survey the damage. The wake had been so massive that 6 other boats had been damaged, but none as severely as the Semper Fi, which was now sitting on the bottom with only her radio antenna visible above the surface. "Jesus, Salty," called out marina manager Tom Bradley, rushing over with a clipboard and a worried expression. "Are you hurt? What the hell was that idiot thinking?" Salty was quiet for a long moment, calculating the cost of salvage, repairs, and lost income from the charters he'd have to cancel. At 67, with a modest Navy pension and no family to fall back on, starting over wasn't really an option. "That was Vincent Ashworth," said Dr. Patricia Chen, who kept her sailboat 3 slips over and had recognized the distinctive yacht. "Tech billionaire. Thinks the whole world is his personal playground." "Well, his playground just destroyed my livelihood," Salty replied, watching his fishing rods and tackle boxes floating in the oily water. 40 years of savings, gone in 30 seconds. What none of them noticed was the young man in navy white standing at the end of the pier, filming everything with his phone and uploading it to a very specific group chat that connected active-duty sailors with their retired shipmates. Petty Officer First Class James Torres had been visiting his grandfather's grave at the National Cemetery when he'd stopped by the marina to check on Salty Morrison, the submarine captain who'd been his mentor during his first deployment. What he'd captured on video was about to trigger a response that would remind Vincent Ashworth why you don't mess with the United States Navy, active or retired. The first call came at 0600 the next morning, waking Salty from a restless sleep in his small apartment above the marina office. Commander Sarah Williams, retired, calling from Norfolk. "Skipper. Sarah Williams. I served under you on the USS Pittsburgh. Jimmy Torres sent us a video of what happened to your boat." Salty rubbed his eyes, trying to focus on a conversation he wasn't ready to have. "Sarah. Good to hear from you. Yeah, some rich boy's yacht took out the Semper Fi yesterday. Insurance will probably cover salvage, but she's a total loss. Skipper, how much do you need to replace her?" "Sarah, I appreciate the thought, but I'm not looking for charity. I'll figure something out." "Sir, with respect, this isn't charity. This is family taking care of family. Now, how much do you need?" The second call came 15 minutes later. "Master Chief Rodriguez from San Diego. Then Lieutenant Commander Jackson from Norfolk. Then Chief Petty Officer Santos from Pearl Harbor." Word was spreading through the Navy network faster than Salty could answer his phone. By 0800, Salty's phone had become unusable, overwhelmed by calls from sailors he'd served with over 3 decades in the submarine service. Each conversation followed the same pattern: shock at the video, outrage at the injustice, and immediate offers of financial support. But the calls weren't just about money. They were about something deeper, the kind of bond that forms between men who've shared the claustrophobic dangers of submarine warfare, who've trusted each other with their lives in the deep ocean, who understand that the crew of a submarine is more than a military unit, it's a brotherhood that extends far beyond active duty. Salty was sitting in the marina office, overwhelmed by the response, when Tom Bradley knocked on his door. "Salty, you need to see this." Outside the office window, a convoy of vehicles was pulling into the marina parking lot. Not just any vehicles, military transport trucks, Navy vans, and personal cars with military license plates and veteran stickers covering every available surface. The Pensacola Naval Reunion had officially begun, and 200 Navy veterans had just learned what happened to their former captain's boat. The first twist came when Master Chief Rodriguez stepped out of the lead vehicle wearing his dress blues and carrying a thick folder that would change everything about Vincent Ashworth's weekend. "Skipper," Rodriguez said, snapping to attention with the kind of respect that never fades, regardless of retirement status. "Master Chief Rodriguez reporting for duty, sir." Behind him, a line of veterans stretched across the parking lot, submarine crews, surface fleet sailors, Navy SEALs, and Marine Guards who'd served on Navy installations. They wore everything from dress uniforms to motorcycle leathers, but they all shared the same expression of focused determination. "Master Chief, what's all this about?" "Sir, we've been doing some research on Mr. Vincent Ashworth and his yacht. Turns out he's got quite a history of this kind of behavior." Rodriguez opened his folder and pulled out a stack of documents. Insurance claims from 3 other marinas, all involving reckless operation of his yacht. Lawsuits from boat owners in the Hamptons, Miami, and Newport. Pattern of behavior spanning 5 years, with his lawyers settling everything quietly to avoid publicity. The second twist came when Chief Petty Officer Santos approached with a laptop computer and a satellite internet connection. "Skipper, we've been monitoring Mr. Ashworth's social media accounts. He's been posting videos from his yacht all morning, bragging about yesterday's fun run through the marina." Santos turned the laptop screen toward Salty, showing Instagram posts from Ashworth's account. The videos showed champagne celebrations, guests laughing about teaching those poor people a lesson about getting in the way, and Ashworth himself making jokes about clearing the riffraff out of the marina. "Sir, he thinks it's funny. He's actually proud of destroying your boat." Salty felt something cold settle in his stomach. It was one thing to be the victim of a careless accident. It was another thing entirely to discover that the destruction of his livelihood was a source of entertainment for a billionaire who saw regular people as obstacles to his amusement. "Master Chief, what's our next move?" "Well, sir, that depends on what kind of operation you want to run. We've got options ranging from completely legal to creatively legal." The third twist came when Lieutenant Commander Jackson announced that the Fortune's Folly was anchored in international waters 12 miles offshore, hosting another party while Ashworth waited for the marina incident to blow over. "Skipper, he's not even in American waters anymore. Thinks he's untouchable out there." "Maybe he is," Salty replied. "Coast Guard won't bother him for a civil matter, and local police don't have jurisdiction." "Sir, with respect, you're thinking like a civilian." "We're not civilians." Jackson smiled with the kind of expression that reminded everyone why submarine officers were considered the Navy's elite problem solvers. "Sir, how many active duty contacts do you think 200 Navy veterans can generate? Because I'm betting we can arrange for Mr. Ashworth to receive some official attention from the United States Navy." The fourth twist came at 1,400 hours when the USS Sterett, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer on a routine training exercise, received new orders that diverted their mission to investigate suspicious vessel activity in the Gulf of Mexico. Captain Elizabeth Morrison, no relation to Salty, but a submarine officer who'd been following the situation through Navy channels, had used her authority to request a wellness check on a vessel that had been reported for erratic behavior near a civilian marina. The Fortune's Folly's crew was in the middle of serving lunch to Ashworth's guests when the destroyer appeared on the horizon, approaching at flank speed with all weapon systems visible and a crew that was clearly conducting a military operation. "Unknown vessel, this is USS Sterett," came the radio call that interrupted Ashworth's champagne brunch. "Heave to for inspection. Prepare to be boarded." Ashworth's captain tried to explain that they were in international waters and not subject to American military authority, but destroyer captains don't typically engage in legal debates with civilian vessels. Sir, you are suspected of engaging in activities that pose a threat to maritime safety. Prepare for immediate boarding or we will consider you a hostile vessel. The fifth and final twist came when the boarding party, led by Chief Petty Officer Martinez, discovered something unexpected during their safety inspection of the Fortune's Folly. Sir, we found these in your guest quarters, Martinez announced, holding up several small bags of cocaine that had somehow appeared during the search. Looks like we've got a drug trafficking situation. Ashworth's protests that the drugs weren't his and must have been planted fell on deaf ears as the Coast Guard cutter that had been, coincidentally, operating nearby arrived to take custody of the yacht and its passengers for transport back to American waters. The boarding had been conducted with the kind of thoroughness that comes from decades of Navy training, and somehow, nobody could quite explain how, evidence of federal drug crimes had been discovered during a routine safety inspection. Mr. Ashworth, Chief Martinez said as the zip-tie restraints were applied, you have the right to remain silent. You're under arrest for possession with intent to distribute, operation of a vessel under the influence, and reckless endangerment of civilian maritime traffic. By 1800 hours, Vincent Ashworth was sitting in a federal holding cell while his $200 million yacht was impounded as evidence in a drug trafficking investigation. His lawyers were scrambling to understand how a routine party cruise had turned into a federal case, while Ashworth himself was learning that there are some people you just don't mess with. Back at the marina, Salty Morrison was standing on the dock watching a salvage crew raise the Semper Fi from the bottom while 200 Navy veterans worked like a precision military unit to coordinate the largest veteran fundraising effort in Pensacola's history. Master Chief Rodriguez approached with a final update that would complete the most successful naval operation in recent memory. Skipper, final tally. We raised $847,000 in 18 hours. That's enough to buy you a new boat, fully equipped, with enough left over to run free charters for disabled veterans for the next 5 years. Master Chief, that's too much. I can't accept. Sir, with respect, you don't get to refuse. This is from 847 Navy veterans who understand what you did for us during your 30 years of service. Consider it back pay for excellence in leadership. Rodriguez handed him a check and a letter signed by every veteran who'd contributed. Sir, the letter explains everything, but the short version is this: you taught us what it means to be sailors. Now we're teaching Mr. Ashworth what it means to mess with sailors. 3 weeks later, Vincent Ashworth pleaded guilty to federal drug charges and agreed to pay $2.3 million in restitution to the marina and affected boat owners as part of his plea agreement. His yacht was sold at federal auction, with the proceeds funding a new veteran maritime program at the naval base. Salty Morrison christened his new boat the Semper Fi II, at a ceremony attended by the largest gathering of Navy veterans in Pensacola's history. The new vessel was twice the size of his old boat, equipped with state-of-the-art fishing equipment and accessibility features for disabled veterans. And somewhere in a federal prison, Vincent Ashworth was learning that money can buy a lot of things, but it can't protect you from the United States Navy when you mess with one of their own. The Marina incident became legendary in military circles, told and retold as an example of what happens when civilian bullies encounter military brotherhood. It proved that some bonds can't be broken by retirement, distance, or time, and that the Navy takes care of its own, whether they're on active duty or fishing for grouper in the Gulf of Mexico. Because that's what sailors do. They navigate dangerous waters, they protect each other from threats, and they never, ever leave a shipmate behind.